easy.
Okay.
There's a vintage Oliver typewriter in there.
Just one?
And books. Lots of books and manuscript pages and my things.
Okay.
What are you doing?
Taking a break? This trunk was a real nut twister.
Oh, really?
You know what I mean. Then again, maybe you don't.
Don't you dare strike that match. The owners of this inn are wonderful to Miss Cather. Didn't they warn you she's not well? And you were going to fill her rooms with the smell of cigarettes.
Just one? Well, what's the matter with Willa?
I beg your pardon?
Is she sick or tired? Has she had an accident?
Miss Cather is depressed. She's lost her longest and once closest friend, Isabel McClung, after a long and lingering illness. And then not 2 months later, her youngest and favorite brother died quite unexpectedly at 58. Add in what is going on in her beloved Europe with Mr. Hitler and his henchmen, and this has just not been a good year for the world or for Willa.
Poor Willa.
I'd appreciate it if you wouldn't call her Willa. Her name to you is Miss Cather.
She told me last year when I was setting up her tent I could call her Willa.
Well, things have changed. There won't be any need for your help with the tent this year.
That's for sure. The hurricane soaked through all the inn's canvas goods, and then no one could get to them to dry them out, so they smell something awful. I wouldn't go near them no matter how much Miss Cather paid me.
Can we make an agreement not to bring up the hurricane unless Miss Cather does so first?
Sure, but that's all anyone's talking about these days. Some Boston men were up here taking photos of the damage, and they called it a historical storm. There may not be another one like it again, ever. A wicked big blow, if you ask me, really wicked.
The hurricane is why she wanted to get up here, to see for herself what had become of her beloved Jaffrey.
It won't take her much looking to get the idea. Well, and seeing what the storm did isn't going to cheer her up. Not one bit. Well, I'm going to go take my bad habits somewhere where they'll be appreciated. Nice to meet you, Miss Lewis.
Yeah, you can call me Edith.
Now you're confusing me.
It'll make sense. Just give it time. Before you go, there is something else we must discuss.
Yep.
Besides having some flu bug she can't shake, Miss Cather is also wearing a brace on her left hand.
Ouch.
She's very self-conscious about the brace, so please try not to stare. And whatever you do, definitely don't make any of your country cute comments about it.
Country cute?
She has almost no strength in her hand, so she'll need your help even more this year than last. Don't stare at her infirmity. It only feeds her insecurity, and she is longing to break free.
I'm beginning to see.
And don't ask her if her book is done. I'm afraid that she has just begun, though she has slaved for many a month. The words don't come, don't pry into her feelings, or ask about her love life. Suffice to say that she was not cut out to be a housewife. Willa Cather is a great woman of letters. She's won the Nobel Prize and basically every other award there is. She's a best-selling novelist and a world traveler. It is absolutely essential we treat her accordingly. Do compliment her taste in clothes. She's sophisticated and it shows, from her head down to her toes. Be sure that she knows you'll help her with her readings and hone your skills as a thespian.
And if reporters question me,
deny that she's a
lecturer, lefty, leper,
something like that. I will carry out her every decree. In her absence, you'll defer to me. Avoid familiarity. That's the best policy. Accommodating Willa.
Taking care of Miss Cather.
That's our speciality.
Oh my God.
Help Miss Cather to a chair.
Here, chair, Miss Cather, this way. It's right here. Here,
Is that you, Nancy, little Nancy from last fall?
It's me, Miss Cather.
Here, have some water. Are you feeling lightheaded, dizzy?
If it's you, Nancy dear, then why are you calling me Miss Cather?
Well,
It's my doing, Willa. I'm the one who suggested that Nancy call you by the more formal Miss Cather.
And the last time I saw you, wasn't the plan for you to go to college, yes? Yes?
When Willa Cather asks a question, she expects an answer.
I know.
Well?
Well, I'm sorry, my father got really sick and we were struggling. Oh, and then the hurricane struck and took the farm. Willa,
I told you not to call her Willa.
If you want someone else to come take care of you, I can have that arranged.
Oh, now please come here, the both of you. I mean, let's take each little issue as it raises its nasty, smelly head. Otherwise, we'll never survive these next few days together.
So, Edith will be staying with you this time.
I don't think I could get rid of her.
Well, it's just that the innkeepers and I were talking before you got here, and they were saying in all the 15 years you've been coming here to Jaffrey, Edith just stays for the first few days to get you settled and then leaves.
Are you trying to get rid of me, Nancy? And us having just met?
Have I lost my voice? Are my best days behind me? I'm reeling in darkness. Please, someone find me. Brilliant ideas used to flow from my head to the page. Now my brain has gone dead and I should be enraged. But I can't even get out of bed. I'm too weak to break free from this miserable cage in my mind. Confined, I'm resigned, just an object at rest. Newton's law says it's best. I'm obsessed, depressed. Look at me now. I'm a god-awful mess. For the sum of my words is all that I am, can't you see? And now that they're gone, is there anything left of me? The ember that once burned so brightly has faded to gray. Will I rise from the ash like the phoenix or dwindle away? Oh, well.
So you're having trouble writing?
The girl's a genius.
For the sum of my words is all that I am, can't you see? And now that they're gone, is there anything left of me? The ember that once burned so brightly has faded to gray. Will I rise from the ash like the phoenix or dwindle? Arise from the ash like the phoenix or dwindle? Arise from its ash like the phoenix or dwindle away? Oh, thank God I write with my right hand, but I need the left also to pick the paper up, turn it over, play with it. Well, I'm trying to decide what to do with the words. Impossible not to have both hands to write, just impossible.
It's not just the hand, is it?
No, it's not, Nancy dearest. Please don't tell anyone. For the first time in my lengthy and somewhat productive writing career, I've run out of words to write. I've got a half-finished novel that I've started 3 times and haven't been able to complete.
Willa Cather has finished every story she's ever started.
Oh, until now.
Except this one?
The girl is a genius.
Now, you're repeating yourself, Edith. Never a good idea in life or in fiction. Oh, and then there's the emperor in Japan, Hitler in Europe. Oh, death, so many deaths. And now, this hurricane in northern New England, no less.
May I ask what this one is about?
Be my guest.
It is Willa Cather's most personal story, I think. It takes place in Virginia. It's about her growing up there. It's just before and then after the Civil War.
What's the title?
Sapphira and
the slave girl.
Sapphira and the Slave Girl. May I read it?
I told you it's not done yet.
Well, I mean the part that is done.
It is about Willa Cather's roots.
I love those books. The immigrant women fighting weather wolves, wild men. Oh, can I please read what you've written, Willa? I promise I won't tell a soul. I could read it right here in your rooms or on the steps.
Don't you have work to do?
Since the storm, we haven't had very many guests. There's not going to be a leaf season this year. The branches are either bare or broken.
Oh, please don't state the obvious. Just look out the window if you're brave enough.
So is the new book about Nebraska?
I said Virginia. Try to keep up, please.
Virginia? I don't know anything about Virginia.
Well, apparently I don't either.
Now, Willa Cather, let's not be hearing you say that.
Oh, well, or if I did, I've forgotten it.
You're funny, Willa.
Be
Miss
careful.
Cather.
Am I? Hard to imagine. A few years ago, we all thought Herr Hitler was funny. No one's laughing now.
It's time to dress for dinner. Thank you for all of your help, Nancy. We'll talk more about the new book tomorrow. Willa Cather has too much on her mind right now to think any more about it.
I'm sorry.
Oh, don't be. None of this is your fault. None of it at all.
Welcome to the Shattuck Inn in Jaffrey, New Hampshire, Edith, Willa. If there is anything I can do to help make your stay here more pleasant, please do not be afraid to ask. I got that down wicked good, don't I? Oh, it's nice to have you back in Jaffrey, Willa. I'm sorry that circumstances couldn't be better.
I forgot what a dear she is. What a dear they all are. They must really be hurting, what with the hurricane and all. I mean, just look at the woods, the roads, the fields, the buildings. It's like a battle zone after the war's been lost. I think it's a good idea we came to Jaffrey this year. Don't ya, Edith?
Before we go down to dinner, there is something else we must discuss.
What's wrong? Who died?
You, unless you get this 20-page introduction done to your collected works. Do you see these telegrams? They're all from your publisher, each one asking a different question about your life, your work. They're going to piece together like a quilt, whether you help them or not.
I didn't want to do a collected works. It makes me sound like I'm dead.
But you did want the money.
Yes, settling Isabel's affairs, settling my brother's estate.
Sending those anonymous checks to Nebraska every month.
Oh, I know. There are many reasons why I decided to subject myself to this 20 pages of soul-wrenching. All right. What kinds of questions are they?
You ready? Is it true Willa Cather went by William Cather, M.D., cut off all of her hair, and dressed as a man when she was a teen in Nebraska?
You can answer that one. Next.
If you were such a brilliant drama critic and you loved the theater so much, why didn't you ever write a play?
Well, it's because I was such a brilliant drama critic and I loved the theater so much that I never wrote a play.
That's a fun answer. You'd sleep in.
I have an idea.
That's a good sign, yes?
Yes, I think we will let her read what is written.
Nancy?
Mm-hmm. But in a different way.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure. Are you coming down with me?
Oh, I already arranged them to bring up your breakfast.
Well, I'd rather go downstairs. I mean, usually when I'm here, I'm madly writing, but I had forgotten how small, even claustrophobic, these rooms are.
I've barely started to unpack. We could be back in New York in time for a late supper.
You'd like that, wouldn't you, Edith, dearest? But no, I've got this idea, and it's a good one. But I'm sorry, means you'll be staying with me in Jaffrey this year.
How long?
I don't know yet. We'll talk after breakfast. Though the anger that once burned so brightly may dwindle and die, still the phoenix ascends from the ashes and takes to the sky.
Bertie, you're not.
Nancy, dear, we've changed in plans. We've decided to have breakfast downstairs. Is that all right?
Less work for me.
And I had an idea last night about the book.
Saphira and the Slave Girl?
Yes, I think I would like you to read what is written, but in a different manner.
Yeah?
Out loud.
Out loud? Willa, Cather, you can't be serious.
And
Out loud.
Have you ever read a novel out loud before, Nancy, dear?
Not since I was a little girl. And those weren't novels, they were storybooks.
Oh, storybooks. I like that. Storybooks are what I write, yes, Edith?
You've never let strangers read your works in progress out loud before, Willa Cather. Never. Not in all the years I've known you, never.
Do you think you want to help me figure out why I'm stuck on this Virginia book?
Sure, but like I said, I don't know anything about Virginia.
Well, look, I would like you to read the main character.
Saphira?
No, Nancy.
Nancy? I'm Nancy!
You are good. Now, we'll start right after breakfast. Edith, can you get the pages ready for me, dear? Now, Nancy, let's go down to breakfast and we'll talk about it there, all right? Now, there's a really interesting part here that I think that you'll be just perfect for, and that we can finally be done with this. And it'll be
Look at them. Don't you think it's a trifle odd? They're like two peas in a goddamn pod. Nancy suits her to a T. I wish that I were back in NYC. Look at her. Nancy plays the part a bit too well. Well, she can bloody well go to hell. It seems the odd man out is me. I wish that I were back in NYC. In New York, I reigned supreme. There wasn't someone younger, prettier, funnier, batting her eyes at Willa. In New York, I was enough. Cooked her food, washed her clothes, wrote her words. God, I could kill her. Look at them. See them watch each other furtively. Nancy smiling so suggestively. That girl will be the death of me. I wish that I were back in NYC. Oh God, just look at me. So consumed with jealousy. But if it all came down to her or me, who knows what Willa's choice would be? I wish that we were back in NYC. Why is it Willa Cather never got married? Does Willa Cather have a boyfriend? Does Willa Cather plan on having children? Need any help, Willa Cather?
in a stash in a moment.
Can I ask a telegram question while you're finishing transforming?
If you must.
The pile just gets taller.
Well, can't the same thing be said about so many things, Edith, dearest? Horse manure, cow patties, Bullshit!
Where do you get most of your writing done? This one even gives you options. New York City, Nebraska, Maine, Newfoundland, Paris.
Jaffrey.
That's the answer, Jaffrey, New Hampshire, the only place on earth I know where I can always write. Are you ready to work?
I'm ready if you are.
Nervous?
A little. Like I said, I've never done this before.
If Willa says you'll be fine, you'll be fine.
Well, I'm ready.
Oh my.
Mustache, if you please. Did I feel a tingle, a stirring in my soul? Could I tap into my heart by putting on a mustache? Oh, how droll. Yet it's happening. That old familiar thrill, that spark I thought had long since died, is burning brightly still. Oh, let me write forever. Just let me write forever. And I will capture each word, erudite or absurd. I don't care. Just let me write forever. All right, now I just need to make a few adjustments. Be right back. Edith will finish filling you in on the story, Nancy. Oh, and you're going to be splendid, absolutely splendid. I can tell already.
One more question before we get started.
Oh, well, why do men have to wear these damnable suspenders? They either too tight or no use whatsoever. Let Nancy answer that question. Oh.
All right. Nancy, why Jaffrey? What is it about this little town in the little state of New Hampshire that draws you to it?
The people. The place. It's quiet, relaxed. No one bothers you. If you want to set up a tent in the meadow, type on the Oliver all night, take a walk after breakfast and not get back until dark, lie in bed all day reading,
spend the day not talking to anyone, not doing anything, just thinking or trying not to think.
That's why Jaffrey, right?
Couldn't have answered it better myself. Well, braces are tightened. Are you ready to work? Edith, have you finished filling Nancy in?
No, I haven't had time to
Oh,
yet.
well, tut. Let's get a move on. I'm ready to work. Are you ready to work?
I'm ready. Edith?
Oh, well, she's always ready. Now, look, I'm going to go over this first few pages in this chapter while Edith finishes filling you in.
Did you get breakfast?
No, I'm not really much of a breakfast eater. Lunch is really
And
more
I
of
think
my
we're going to go work right through lunch if it's all right with you ladies. It's been so long since I worked on Poor Dear Sapphira. Once we get started, I don't think I'll feel like stopping.
Sapphira and the Slave Girl might be Willa Cather's most personal novel.
To date, Edith, dearest, to date, not ready to make use of those burial plots just yet.
Sapphira was her grandmother on her mama's side. She was a Southern belle fallen on hard times. She had moved the family from the Tidewater, Eastern Virginia, to Winchester, about as far west as you can go and still be in Virginia.
This isn't a geography textbook, is it, Edith, dearest? I mean, you're going to bore our guest to death.
She's not our guest. She's an employee of the inn and therefore works for us.
Oh, continue, Edith, dearest. Just go easy on the geography. Well, maybe I can cut some of this out.
No, it's not cutting. We should be thinking about it's adding.
I will have to go downstairs to help serve lunch.
Oh, continue, Edith, dearest, and try not to interrupt yourself anymore.
Sapphira owned a few slaves that she brought with her to Winchester. They helped her husband raise sheep and run a small grist mill. Her husband, Henry, did not own any slaves, but, like many poor whites in what was left of the antebellum South just before the Civil War, he was ready to fight to retain his right to do so.
Edith will read Sapphira, but Edith, dearest, continue.
Of course, Sapphira runs the house, and
Oh,
she...
let me write forever. Just let me write forever. And I will capture each word, erudite or absurd, I don't care. Just let me write forever. Sapphira is the keeper of the family secrets. I mean, she's not a sympathetic character. She's more like my grandmother, kind of a holdover from the old
Who is telling this story?
Oh, well, excuse me, Edith. Please continue.
One of the biggest of the family secrets has to do with Sapphira's husband, Henry, and one of her slaves, Nancy.
That's you, Nancy.
Nancy's mother.
And it's obvious to everyone in the Tidewater area when Nancy was first born that she resembled Sapphira's husband's side of the family very, very closely.
So Sapphira moved the entire family as far west as she could.
To Winchester.
And began a whole new life there.
Excuse me, sorry to interrupt, but are we going to read all these pages out loud?
Oh, you think it's too much, too many pages?
It's not enough pages. I've really never not seen Willa Cather finish a story. And this story, this book, she's been working on for 2 years, and it is not finished.
What are you two doing over there? I mean, we'll never get to reading from the book. Come on.
We'll just read certain scenes, ones Willa Cather isn't sure about, or maybe ones she is sure about but needs to hear to make herself feel more confident. Huh? As the years passed, Nancy grew into the most beautiful young woman. She's described as high yellow, which in those days was about the greatest compliment you could pay to a slave girl.
High yellow? Oh, enough with the interruptions. We will never get to reading from the book.
As Nancy's beauty grew, Sapphira became more and more obsessed with her and her looks. She surprised everyone the year Nancy turned 20 by inviting her ne'er-do-well nephew Martin to come and live with them.
Then I'm playing Martin. Let's start there. Once again, I feel it. I've tapped into a vein. There's fire in my fingertips and lightning in my reawakened brain. Don't know how long I have, maybe just 1 minute more. But I will ride that wave until it crashes to the rocky shore.
Where do ideas
come from?
Somewhere beyond my ken.
Somewhere beyond my ken.
Are we the hands that write the words, or are we just the pen?
Is any thought unique?
Thought truly one of a kind?
Well, all I know, for a moment or so, the stars have finally aligned. The stars have finally aligned. Oh, let me ride.
Oh, let her ride forever.
Just let me ride.
Oh, let her ride forever.
And let my words turn to phrases, paragraphs into pages galore. I'll always want more. This I implore. Just let me write forever. Oh.
Now, this is in the early section of the book. The nasty nephew Martin has just arrived, invited by Sapphira. So the question being, did she want him bothering Nancy, or did she really think he would leave her alone? Now, I'm reading Sapphira as Martin arrives very, very late. You've kept me waiting.
Oh, we'll skip that and go right to me. Now, here I am at the door of the guest room, having exchanged my pleasantries with Aunt Safi. Have to keep her happy long enough to get back up on my feet again. I lost my horse and all my cash in a race out west. Oh, whoa, are you Nancy? Good evening, Nancy. I hear that you are going to take care of me, Nancy.
If I can please you, sir.
Oh, you do please me. Am I allowed to go on the veranda tonight, Nancy?
Certainly, sir. Correcting an implied
Unpack my trunk, honey. I can't live like a monk, honey. I'm a man of the world. Take my things and put them wherever you think they ought to go, and I'll watch you, so I know where to find them.
Well, would you like your collars and neckcloths kept in the upper drawer, sir?
Oh, follow your own notion. We have a slut of a housekeeper back home. I never know where to find anything. Just one of the reasons why I'm looking forward to a nice long stay here. Mind if I smoke, honey?
No.
Oh, that's just a joke, honey. We'll just have to add that to the list of services you'll be providing and not telling my aunt about, opening the window and shooing the smoke out whenever I'm in the mood. Well, my fault. You say whatever you say, sir. Oh,
Here, let me do the writing.
oh, God, this wrist is going to be the death of me.
All of us.
Whatever you say, sir.
I'll work on that.
Oh, sir, your coats and pants and shirts and nightshirts are all thrown into the trunk, so it is confusing to look at them. If you don't mind, sir, I'll go downstairs directly and press them.
Oh, well, that's a good idea. And don't you forget my dirty socks and soiled underwear. I stuff them into my spare shoes whenever they get so nasty I can't wear them anymore. I've been living in my clothes ever since Aunt Sappy invited me.
I am embarrassed because this strange guest watched over me so closely.
Anybody ever tell you you're a damn pretty girl, Nancy?
No, sir.
You're trying to make me believe none of these country jakes around here been making up to you, Nancy?
The folks around here are good, kind folks, Mr. Martin.
You don't say, honey. Ha! But if I had my way, honey, you would be my girl.
I didn't like his laugh, not at all. He might be kin of Sapphira, but I didn't want him in the house. I go out the door carrying my armful of coats and trousers and shirts and nightshirts, trying not to drop any of the too nasty to touch underwear. That laugh followed me all the way downstairs.
I throw my cigar end out of the window. I was amazed at how quickly she was gone. This girl is gonna be fun.
Chapter 2.
Well, of course, chapter 2. We just finished chapter 1, didn't we? How are you doing, Nancy?
Oh, that's for you to tell me, Willa.
Oh, you're doing fine, Miss Nancy. Just fine. I'm not sure how I'm doing. I mean, I like the beginning with Martin's arrival, but I think I need to set him up more, make him nicer, and then not so nice, but put in more background. I think just a bit of the narrative to start off chapter 2. Nancy can read along to get filled in on the details.
It's dinner time, and Sapphira has dressed up, wearing a velvet gown, one of the last holdovers from her Tidewater years. Her husband Henry joins her for dinner and is pleased to see their nephew, but a bit confused as to why Sapphira invited him for such an open-ended stay. Sapphira's wheeled in by their faithful but ancient house servant, Old Washington. It's important that we know early on that Sapphira, poor dear, can barely walk. Washington's granddaughter, Katie, is 12 and barefoot and wearing a stiffly starched red calico dress. It's her job to walk round and round the dining room table, waving a long fly brush made of a peacock's tail.
This doesn't sound like New Hampshire.
It's not, dear. Edith?
Washington remembered nights like this back in the Tidewater. It turned out Martin was good for something, and that was telling amusing, slightly indecent stories that made his aunt laugh. Bottle after bottle was opened. Katie went home and told her brothers and sisters that she didn't know what had come over folks. Even Henry the miller, who never said much of anything, was just a laughing and a laughing. Katie's a good character, good way into the others, the life of the slaves and all.
That's enough. Sapphira's last thoughts, if you will.
You're going to skip over the story of Martin's blue tooth? How he fooled countless local girls, the runaway horses, Katie's first taste of snow cream?
Yes.
I seldom have spent such a fine, fine evening, my dear Martin. Certainly not since leaving the Tidewater. I like having young people and their stories in this house. Here, let me pat your hand. Washington, send Nancy upstairs to turn down Mr. Martin's bed and see to it that he has everything he needs. Good night, one and all. Another fine day tomorrow.
By the time I get to my room, Nancy has already taken off the starched pillow shams.
Do you like the bolster left on, sir, or just the pillows?
Oh, never leave the bolster on. Take it away with you, can't you?
Yes, indeed, sir. I'll pick up the long bolster. It is awkward, hard to carry. Is 2 candles enough for you?
I grab her by the shoulders as she's headed for the door, and I kiss her.
Oh, please, sir, please.
What's there to make a fuss about? That's how I say goodnight to my sister. You ask my aunt.
I'm already at the door.
Oh, and don't forget to waken me up half an hour before breakfast. I'll take you. I'll break you, Nancy. Devour you. Deflower you, Nancy. I'll taste you, embrace you, then after I've debased you, you'll belong to me. I'll hold you and fold you, Nancy. I crave to enslave you, Nancy. Undress you, caress you, then finally I'll possess you, Nancy. Come to me.
Nancy does all she can to avoid Mr. Martin over the next few days. She knows she can't discuss her fear of him with Sapphira, but she does find an excuse to visit Henry at the mill, and she does tell him. She does find an excuse to visit Henry at the mill, and she does tell him. Willa Cather, that's you, Henry the Miller.
Oh, I think it would be better if Edith read Henry the Miller.
Me? You said you were reading all the men's parts.
Edith will read Henry the Miller.
I hear what you're saying, Nancy girl, and I gotta be honest with you. I'm as much in the dark as any of us as to why Sapphira invited him. I know he keeps her entertained, but it's obvious to all of us what his plans are for you.
Oh, Edith.
Let's at least say this. Don't go out into the woods or any lonesome place while Mr. Martin's still here. If you have to go out, you come by here and I'll go with you, or if I can't go, I'll get Washington or even little Katie to go with you. You hear me? You hear me?
Oh, yes, sir. Thank you. I looked at this world-weary old white man and wanted to say so much more, but there was a dark apprehension deep inside me that kept me from using any more words.
Brava, Nancy. Brava.
Should we take a break now? You've been going at it pretty hard, Willa Cather, and I'm sure Nancy's needed downstairs. Why don't we take a break to answer a few more questions and let Nancy go back about her work?
Down by the cane brake, close by the mill.
There's my answer. Here, you'll need the chair for this next part.
I was playing truant. Hadn't made up Mrs. Martin's rooms, instead had gone down to the mill where I borrowed a chair that allowed me to scramble up into one of the big cherry trees. I love picking cherries, and I love being up a tree. No troubles follow a body up a tree, and the sunlight on my bare feet and legs makes me light-hearted, foolish, dreamy, not caring that I'd left half my work undone.
Da lived a yaller gal, her name was Nancy Till.
Should I scramble down out of the tree? Likely as not, he'd go along the path and not even notice me if I stay up here amongst the leaves.
I had gotten down to the kitchen to inquire as to why my room had not yet been made up, and Bluebell, Nancy's mother, told me that Edith, Bluebell, Nancy's mother.
I've got it. Nancy's out picking cherries.
Now, there never was a finer morning for picking cherries or anything else, I thought to myself as I moved along the path towards the cherry trees. I really did not mean to frighten the girl. I just wanted her to know my displeasure at the fact that my bed had not yet been made. Good morning, Nancy. I called up to her. Do you know that song I was singing? Can you sing like Bluebell?
No, sir, I got no singing voice.
Well, neither have I, but I sing anyway. Oh, can't help it on a morning like this. Come now, you're going to give me something, Nancy.
Somehow I didn't feel scared of him as he stood down there with his head thrown back. His tone was coaxing but careless. His eyes were clear this morning and jolly. He didn't look wicked. Maybe he just means to tease me and I just don't know how young men behaved over in the Tidewater.
Maybe we should take a break, let Nancy go back about her work.
Aren't you gonna give me something on such a pretty day, Nancy? Don't want no sour cherries, I want something sweet. Nancy, you look awful pretty sitting up there. Who's your beau, Nancy?
I ain't got none.
Now, is that so, Nancy?
I looked away hoping someone was coming.
And I stepped up on the chair, grabbed her bare ankles. Ooh, did they feel good, and drew her legs about my cheeks like a frame.
Please let me go, Mr. Martin. Do please. Somebody will come along and you'll get me into trouble.
Well, I'll get you into trouble. Well, for just this, well, this is nothing but to cure a toothache.
I went pale. Couldn't move with him holding me so hard. Everything had changed in a flash. He had changed. I'd never seen a person look that way. Please, Mr. Martin, please let me get down.
I framed my face with those soft, warm legs and closed my eyes. This is just nice. Something smells sweet, like May apples.
He seemed murmuring to himself, not her. His face was getting closer and closer. He was burying his face between my... Pappy! Oh, Pappy, come quick!
Well, the minute the girl screamed, I jumped down off the chair, and there was my uncle and two of his biggest, strongest slaves staring at me. The girl took giddy-like. I was just helping her down off the tree. Top of the morning to y'all.
You really want to keep going?
I think we're all ready for a break now. I think we're all ready for a break now. Maybe go downstairs for a bit of tea and some sandwiches.
Sounds perfect. Should I bring some questions?
Well, why not? Nancy, are you going to come with us?
Actually, I think I'm gonna stay up here. If I go downstairs, they'll put me to work.
You're enjoying this?
I don't know if enjoy is the right word.
Well, whatever the word is, you're doing a damn fine job of it.
Miss Cather.
Time for lunch.
Where there was darkness, now there's only light. Once I was filled with dread, but now I'm high as a kite. Everything's turned on its head, and it all feels so right. It's just like waking up after a long and dreamless night. Was I stunned? Was I blind, deaf, and dumb? Were my senses numb before I knew you? Did I smile? Maybe once in a great while. That was not my style before I knew you. And now I see that life can be so much more. I'm spreading my wings and I'm ready to soar. Finally, I'm whole. Look at me spiraling out of control into you. What else can I do? I was resigned, thought the stars would not align. Nearly went out of my mind before I knew you. But then I felt the magic start, playing someone else's part. I discovered my own heart, and it was all because of you. And now I see that life can be so much more. I'm spreading my wings and I'm ready to soar. Finally, I'm home. Look at me spiraling out of control into you. What else can I do? 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 I'll be right behind you.
Willa, Cather, did you sleep out here?
No. I woke up at 4 o'clock and couldn't get back to sleep, and so I started to come out to try to do work and went through the desk, and look what I found.
The last letter you wrote me from Jaffrey.
When was that? A year ago?
2. I know I'm supposed to burn all of our correspondence, but this one. My darling Edith, I am sitting in your room, looking out on the woods you know so well. So far, everything delights me. I am ashamed of my appetite for food. As for sleep, I had forgotten that sleeping can be an active and very strong physical pleasure. It can. It has been for all of 3 nights. I wake up now and then, saturated with the pleasure of breathing clear mountain air. Not cold, just chill air. Of being high up, with all the woods below me sleeping too, in a still, white moonlight. It is a grand feeling. 1 hour from now, out of your window, I shall see a sight unparalleled. Jupiter and Venus both shining in a golden rosy sky, and both to the west, she above the horizon, and he about midway between the zenith and the silvery lady planet. From 5:30 to 6:30, they are both of a superb splendor, deepening in color every second in the still daylight sky, guiltless of other stars, the moon not up and the sun gone down behind Gap Mountain. These two alone in all the vaults of heaven.
Then the lady, so silvery still, slips down into the clear rose-colored glow to be near the departed sun. Imperial Jupiter hangs there alone. Then the lady, so silvery still, slips down into the clear rose-colored glow to be near the departed sun. Imperial Jupiter hangs there alone.
He goes down about 8:30. Surely it reminds one of Dante's Eternal Wheels. I can't but believe that all that majesty and all that beauty, those faded and unfailing appearances and exits, are something more than mathematics and horrible temperatures. If they are not, then we are the only wonderful things, because we can wonder. And now, I must dress to receive the planets, dear, as I shall not wish to do so once they appear, and they will not wait for anybody. Lovingly, Willa. I do not know when I have enjoyed Jupiter so much as this summer.
Make sure you burn it.
Nancy, I was going to leave a note for you downstairs, but you beat me to it.
I couldn't wait to get here. Yesterday was so amazing, so unlike anything I've ever done in Jaffrey in my life before. Is everything okay? Where's Willa? Why are we whispering?
Willa Cather had a bad night last night. She stayed up late trying to write, and her hand got worse and worse. I'm thinking today we're going to put a call into Dr. Sweeney and see if he can come by around.
You!
You should go.
Is there anything I can do to help?
Who are you talking to, Edith, dearest? I mean, you know how annoying it is to hear. Oh, Nancy, dear. Oh, bless you. You're early. Edith, will you get me the pages, please?
Actually, Miss Cather, I was just leaving. You didn't tell me you weren't well.
Oh, now, nonsense. We had a wonderful day yesterday. My head is full of ideas. I just can't write them down. Now, Edith, you'll be able to help me with it.
I really don't think it's a good idea for you to be writing today, Willa Cather.
Oh, please. You can write for me, and Nancy, you'll be willing to help, right?
Well, yes, of course. But Edith thinks it's a good idea to have Dr. Sweeney come and check.
I love your doctor. He has read all my books, or so he claims. I mean, he's from Canada, so the only one we ever end up discussing is Shadows on the Rock. But he's good company for an hour or two in the afternoon, but he isn't much of a medical expert. Well, then again, even the doctors in New York City haven't been able to figure this out. Oh.
Are you sure you want to do this, Willa Cather?
Yes, I'm sure. Now, Nancy, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Let's begin then. Edith, dearest.
Of course. One question before we begin.
All right, one.
Where did the name Willa come from?
I was named after my Uncle William, who died fighting for the South in the Civil War.
And is it true you went by William when you were a teen in Nebraska?
Oh, that question again. Hasn't somebody already... William Cather, M.D., if you must know.
William Cather, M.D.?
Well, I was bored to death in high school. There were only 3 in my entire class. Well, cutting off all my hair and pretending to be a man helped a little bit. Now, look, I've got some new material that I want to hear, what I got done last night before my wrist gave out. Edith will need the beard for Henry, the miller with the secret, and, Edith, you'll also be reading Bluebell, the devoted house slave. Now, Nancy, you're going to be sitting out for a bit, but you'll be back again soon and ready to take the trip of your life.
I can't wait.
You know, that's the spirit. Now, do you need help with the beard? And you'll also be reading Old Washington, the slave who helps...
Now, that's going to be confusing. I'm reading Nancy's mother, her birth father, and her grandfather.
Well, we wouldn't have given you all those parts if we didn't think you did such a great job on them, would we, Nancy?
For days now, the slaves who worked in the mill with me, or raised the vegetables, or kept the house running, had been seeking me out. None of these conversations were anywhere near where Sapphira could hear me. The slaves were very careful when they sought me out. It was old Washington who spoke first about the matter. Master Henry, I'd like to talk to you about something I got on my mind, but I don't rightly know if it's my place to.
Speak out, Washington. Saphira can't hear you.
Well, sir, it's Nancy. I'm afraid Mr. Martin worries her right smart.
Worries her? How do you mean worries her? Worries how?
Well, sir, you know how them young fellas is. They likes to fool around a pretty girl even if she is colored. I don't say he means no harm, but she seems kind of scared like all the time.
My face took on a dark flush. I wasn't used to talking about Nancy. I'll keep an eye on my nephew, Washington, and Nancy's a good girl. We'll all have to watch out for her. I did not get much sleep that night. Nancy. For all the years she's been growing up on the mill, she seemed like more of an influence than a person. Shy, devoted young woman. She picks up after us. She comes in and out, brings us lunch. She touches everything so lightly. And all of this is for love. She's got nothing to gain beyond the pleasure of seeing us pleased.
I think she's writing about you.
Don't be silly.
Edith.
Oh, yes.
Henry.
Okay, now that I must see her as a woman enticing to men, I shrink from seeing her at all. Something is lost out of that sweet companionship, for companionship it had been, though it be but a smile and a glance, a greeting in the fresh morning hours. It is high time for me to get involved.
Oh, ouch!
Oh, that's enough. I'm going downstairs to call Dr. Sweeney. Nancy, could you help Willa Cather with the costumes and then maybe into bed?
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have come so
You've
early.
done nothing wrong, my child.
What did you think about what we just read? I mean, did it make sense? Did it seem
Aren't
confusing?
you supposed to be resting?
I can't rest. Not here, not now. Jaffrey is for writing, and with your help, I feel like writing again. Oh, wait till you hear the idea that Martin has. Oh, ow!
Okay, Miss Cather, I promised Edith I would help you, not hurt you.
Oh, all right. Oh, my brother Douglas used to take care of me. Oh, he was 5 years younger than me, but he seemed to think it was his job in life to take care of his older sister. Never wanted me to be hurt or scared. Did Edith tell you Douglas died 2 months ago? Suddenly it was a shock to all of us.
She did. And your friend Isabel.
Oh, Isabel McClung. I wrote every book I've ever written. I've dedicated to her. She was my muse, my inspiration, my life. I'll dedicate this one to her also.
She must have been quite the woman.
Do you ever wonder if this will be your last one?
I beg your pardon?
Oh, of course you don't. You're young. I didn't think about my last ones until this year. I mean, with all the deaths, the hurricane, my stupid wrist. I'm wondering if I'll ever finish this novel, ever write another one. I mean, who else will be gone? When? Why? What's up?
The world's an awful place, and it is only getting worse.
That's what I'm saying.
Some rail against the fates, while others gnash their teeth and curse. Yet I found a solution. I am never ill at ease. I just imagine all the nasty possibilities. Well, let's see if it works for you. Just think of the horrible things that could happen to you. Well, think in the blink of an eye, your life could be through. It's true. You could get run over by a car, smoke a poisonous cigar, maybe fall into a vat of tar. I'm telling you, baby, it could happen to you. Just think of the horrible things that could happen to you.
Think of the horrible things that could happen to you.
Think in the blink of an eye, your life could be through.
It's true.
You could be devoured by a bear.
Left to die in the Sahara.
Or strapped to an electric chair. I'm telling you, baby, it could happen to you. Just change your perspective and emulate me. Your life can be transformed by the power of negativity when life gives you lemons.
Just picture them starting to rot.
Yes! And instead of seeing your glass as half empty, I want you to visualize that beautiful, pristine glass shattered on the floor in a million pieces. Feeling better yet? Just think of the horrible things that could happen to you.
Think of the horrible things that could happen to you.
Think in the blink of an eye, your life could be through.
It's true.
You could one day fall off of a cliff.
Swallow arsenic, what's the diff? So many ways to end up a stiff. I'm telling you, baby. I'm telling you, baby. I'm telling you, baby. It could happen to you.
I asked them to bring you up some tea, and I talked to Dr. Sweeney. He said to rest until he gets here.
All right, yes.
Is there anything I can do to help?
No, I think we're good. Oh, can you put away the beard? Don't want to tempt Willa Cather now, do we?
No, we certainly don't. Goodbye, Willa.
Bye-bye, Nancy. Thanks for listening.
It was my pleasure. Maybe tomorrow we can read the rest.
Thank you, Nancy.
Or you could write novels by the score with the people you adore and live to be 104. I'm telling you, baby, it could happen to you.
Is she here yet?
Oh, show some enthusiasm, Edith, dearest. I mean, you have to admit she has done wonders for us.
She certainly has gotten you writing again. Let's answer a few more questions while we wait. Is it true you visited New Mexico before you wrote Death Comes for the Archbishop?
Oh, you can answer that one. Oh, where is that girl?
I think she felt bad about coming early yesterday.
Oh, why should she feel bad? She was the only good part about yesterday.
Willa Cather, you mean to tell me the life-saving visit from Dr. Sweeney wasn't the high point of your week?
He had no good advice, and he only wanted to talk about Steinbeck.
Here I am. Sorry I'm late.
Oh, fine.
Oh, good, you're here. Now, I want you to hear what Henry has to say about Sapphira. It helps to explain their relationship and how he feels about her now that their time together is coming to an end.
Give the girl a moment to catch her breath.
Have you caught your breath? All right, good. Now, here we go. This will go in near the end of the book where Henry is talking about Sapphira. It's an opportunity to understand her shades of kindness and cruelty.
Shades of kindness and cruelty. I like that.
Now, there's been a plague of dropsy throughout Virginia, and two of Nancy's nieces have already died from the fevers, and her own mother, Bluebell, is nearly dead. Sapphira has Old Washington wheel her down to the slave cabins where she takes care of every one of the sick children and adults until the plague has gone away. Her husband, Henry, remembers this as we come to the end of the book.
After she was old and ill, she never lowered her flag. Not even now, when she knew the end was not far off. He had seen strong men quail and whimper at the approach of death. He himself dreaded it, but he knew how it would be with her. She would make her death easy for everyone. because she would meet it with the composure which he had sometimes called heartlessness, like inviting her nephew Martin to stay with them, but which now seemed to him strength. As long as she was conscious, she would be mistress of the situation and of herself. It's wonderful, Willa. Wonderful.
I have some questions. I mean, it's really good. I understand Henry and Sapphira a lot better, but I'm wondering,
Yes?
you're doing it different.
Doing what different?
How Henry talks. He's not telling us what he's thinking. Someone else is.
She's changing from first person to third.
I mean, I think I can dig deeper, lay in more background, and get more of a story if it's in the third.
Definitely. This is going to be a long, slow rewrite with your hand and all.
Oh, I know, but it's a rewrite I want to do, Edith. Dearest, a rewrite I know I can do now.
And then I did have another question about Nancy in the story. Well,
Once again, I feel it. Once again, I'm free. Words are pouring out of me like raging rivers rushing to the sea, and I can't stop the flow. I couldn't if I tried. I'm surfing on a sea of words. I'm swept up in the tide. Oh, let me ride.
Oh, let her ride forever.
Just let me ride.
Oh, let her ride forever.
And let my words turn to phrases, paragraphs into pages galore. I'll always want more. This I implore. Just let me write forever. Oh no! Ouch!
Careful, Willa, careful,
Oh, no, I'm fine. I just got a little too excited. I cannot tell you how great it feels to finally finish this one.
You don't have to tell me. After all these years together, I understand.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry to interrupt, but I did have another question.
Oh, yes. Willa Cather loves questions. Go ahead.
Okay, so if we're getting toward the end of the book and Sapphira is getting ready to die, what happened to Nancy? Did Martin ever do what he was thinking of? Well, and if he did, what was that like for Nancy? And if Nancy
Give Willa Cather some time to answer these questions with her writing. She just had a big breakthrough, and now she has to go back and rethink and rewrite everything. Give her time.
Okay, I know you're right. It's just having read part of the book, I really want to know how it ends.
Henry comes up with a plan. After Martin gets drunk and threatens Nancy even more, he decides to send Nancy up north to Canada on the Underground Railway.
The Underground Railway. I've heard of that.
It ran right through New Hampshire.
And Henry uses money he's kept down at the mill to cover the costs, and he arranges for Bluebell to go with Nancy as far as New Hampshire. Well, she ends up Toronto, and she does quite well for herself, but no one from back home hears from her for almost 25 years, with the Civil War, emancipation and all.
Is the ending, when Nancy returns, going to be back in first person?
It has to be. I was in the room the day that Nancy returned. 6 years old, but my memory mind is clear as can be.
So these were real people. People you knew.
You're going to have to start sending telegrams with all these questions you have, Nancy.
Down by the canebrake, close by the mill, da lived a yellow gal, her name was
Now,
Nancy.
will that be the end of Martin? Will the last Nancy has to deal with him or any others like him?
Well, she went up to Canada where she became a maid for a wealthy lady.
There were Martins up in Canada, I reckon.
Well, and Nancy was a long, long way from all of her people. I mean, old Washington, her father Henry, even complicated Sapphira.
But tell me she lived happily ever after.
I can't tell you that because I haven't finished the book yet. I've got one long rewrite ahead of me.
And who knows what will happen during that long rewrite.
Oh, but haven't these last few days of reading the book out loud helped you with anything?
Oh, it's helped me with everything, Nancy, in ways that you could never know. I mean, so smile, be happy for me and Edith, you and Nancy. New beginnings, here's to the happiness we find.
New beginnings, although they're seldom what we had in mind.
New beginnings, which one will you choose? Knowing win or lose, we must go on.
Just remember the darkest hours just before the dawn. L'ultima dies prima fugit. The best days are the first to flee. One day my words will disappear for good. Who will remember me? I yearn to see my destiny.
Sapphira was rewritten quickly for Miss Cather when she and Edith returned to New York City. It would be the last full-length piece of fiction she ever wrote, and it was a huge success for her. New beginnings, here's to the past we leave behind.
New beginnings, may the fates be merciful and kind.
New beginnings, blossoming every day.
We will find our way, you'll see.
Beginning,
Still I wonder what's in store.
maybe there is something more.
There's no point in dwelling on what was before. For me,
Ooh, new beginnings. Ooh, and what will be, will be.
Willa worked off and on for the next 7 years on a short story and other collected works. Oh, and her collected works did come out complete with answers to some, but not all of her personal secrets. Edith wrote a book after Willa's death about their relationship that left more questions than it answered. They're both buried in the corner of the Jaffrey town cemetery. You can see their graves from this window. And me, I started college spring semester thanks to Edith and Willa. I have arrived. Finally, I'm flying. Who knows how high these wings of mine will carry me? And if I fall back to the ground, no one can take away all of the joy I found. Just look at me. I have arrived.
Look at this permanent smile on my
Look
face.
at my
I've never felt so alive.
Becoming alive.
Ever since you wandered into my life, because of you I am starting to thrive.
I have arrived. I have ascended. Finally, you're exactly where I need to be. Every misstep, every disaster, every dead end helped us find our way that much faster. Look at me.
I have arrived.
Finally I'm flying.
Finally, I'm flying.
Who knows how high these wings of mine will carry me? And if I fall back to the ground, no one can take away